So day 11 begins, which is officially a third of the way through the 33 stages of the Camino, according to John Brierley's book. Just leaving the mean streets now of Bellardo, and we've got a 24k walk ahead of us this morning, and we're going to be staying at a place called St. Juan de Ortega, where accommodation options are limited, and it looks like we're going back to a monastery hostel. Said goodbye to another friend this morning that was only walking the Camino for 10 days, so there's a little bit of sadness about that, but again, you know, fully aware that that's the nature of the Camino, is you constantly meeting people, saying goodbye and meeting new people. So the weather forecast is looking really rubbish from about 5.5-6 hours time, so going to get a move on and try and get to the next location before the heavens open. So just stopped off at our first rest point of today's journey, and that didn't actually come around until 6.7 kilometers in, and I made a bit of a mistake this morning because I didn't actually fill up my bottle with any water, and that was literally the first opportunity to get a drink and refreshment. So yeah, be mindful of that, because that literally was the first and only place we came across. Anyway, so we've got about another 17k to go, and about 3 hours now before the rain starts coming in, so we're going to crack on. So we are 14 kilometers in, just past the town of Villafranca, I think it was. The bit leading into that for about 10 minutes again was on the freeway, and the cars were just flying past us. That wasn't that pleasant, but now after passing that, we've hit a really, really nice stretch of the Camino. Upwards through the mountain and the woods, surrounded by trees and nature and lots of birds singing and things. It's really, really lovely, and just over the other side are snow-capped mountains. It's a bit of an incline now, and as you can probably hear, I'm starting to feel it a little bit, but 10 more k to go until we get to the monastery and our bed for the night, and really, really hoping to make it there before this rain comes in. So the weather forecast was very accurate. Rain's coming down fairly heavily now. There's thunder rumbling in the distance ahead, still about 2 kilometers out. Believe it or not, I really enjoyed today's walk, apart from this rainy bit, just walking through these trees and the woods. It's been really, really nice, and because there's moisture in the air, you can really smell them as well, the scent coming off the trees. Anyway, you're gonna have one last push now to get to tonight's accommodation in the monastery, and hope that they've got some room for us. So it took 4 hours and 51 minutes today to get to San Juan de Ortega, and that was 25 kilometers. We are staying in the monastery tonight, and there is literally nothing else here other than the monastery. There's a little albergue around the corner that sells pizzas, €7, I can recommend that. And there's 2 little bar type things as well, but other than that, there is literally nothing, no town centre, nothing, just the monastery. And interestingly, an Irish chap that we got chatting to somewhere along the Camino walked straight past it and said that he wasn't going to stay here tonight in the monastery because it's apparently haunted. So I guess we'll find out this evening about that. So day 12 on the Camino, just started about 10 minutes ago, left the monastery, currently walking through a lovely woodland forest thing. Very happy to report that there weren't any ghostly goings on last night in the monastery. I think perhaps the ghosts were put off by the 18 flatulent and snoring men that I happened to be sharing the dorm with. One thing to note actually is that there's nowhere to get anything to eat in terms of breakfast around there. Nothing was open, and the little cafe thing wasn't selling anything. So that's worth bearing in mind if you're someone who needs breakfast, because I am currently setting off on an empty stomach again and hoping to find a village, I think probably the next 5k to get a coffee. Okay, about 3 kilometres into the journey now, and a town has just come into view over the brow of the hill. So really hoping that there's going to be somewhere open to get some food and a coffee and some water. So I'm very happy to report that that town did have somewhere to get some coffee and some food and a freshly squeezed orange juice. And also there's now Burgos there, where several of the people who didn't want to stay at the haunted monastery chose to stay instead, and they actually said it was really nice, and the beds there were cheaper than the monastery, so bear that in mind. But you do have to walk like an extra 3.9 kilometers past the monastery, but it looked really nice, and the food was good. So 8 kilometers in on the road to Burgos, and just had to scramble up a really steep hill, which is really like rocky and uneven underfoot. So yeah, I can't lie, it's been a real pain in the arse to get up. Gonna have to lose a few layers as well, because nearly fell over then, because even though it's like really gloomy and grey and overcast, it's really hot, hard work climbing up there. Whew. So we're 12 and a bit kilometres in, just found somewhere to stop for a coffee, which was much needed, because not really enjoying today's walk. It's quite horrible, if I'm honest. It's been very bleak, lots of like factories and agricultural buildings, and a really rocky, horrible path where you've got to be switched on the whole way, because if you don't look where you're putting your feet, it's definitely a leg breaker waiting to happen.
Thank you again for watching my peculiar Camino ramblings. I still have so much footage to trawl through, so if you found this interesting, then definitely hit the subscribe button, as it'll make me feel guilty about not finishing the other vlogs.